Okay, you're good.
Okay, this is a December meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Board, and let's see, we've got, I guess it looks like we've got a quorum. 1, 2, Paul's there, Beal. Let me try and get this pad situated. I'll be upside down for a minute. There we go. Okay. Okay. Call to order. Is Tammy online?
Tammy's on the line, yes.
Okay. All right. So first thing we have, of course, is the minutes as distributed. I thought maybe it might be helpful to you, Tammy. You're being very, very, very thorough. And maybe it might be easier for you if you, caught the essence, but didn't have to catch all the detail. You've done a terrific job. I didn't have to attend the meeting. I would have understood everything that went on. So, at any rate, do I hear a motion or any minutes? Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes or any changes to the minutes?
I'll move to accept.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor or all those opposed? All right. Favor. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I guess, Erica, we'll move right to your report.
Okay, I'm going to try and blast through this fairly quickly, only because there's a lot that's been going on in these first weeks of January. And for the good of the cause, Tammy, and so that you don't have your hands cramp up trying to keep up with all this, it's all typed up and written, so I'll make sure that I present it to you both electronically and in hard copy. And I can do the same for members of EDAB as well, of some of the notes. This was also some of what I presented last night during the council meeting. We did testify, I did, for House Bill 390, which was the bill seeking a thorough economic impact study relevant to the closure of Hartford Memorial Hospital. We did that testimony in the afternoon yesterday, about 3 o'clock. With that testimony, we had Ed Garono, who's with the Habit of Grace Alliance, myself, the mayor, and Shane Grimm with Planning and Zoning to support having an economic impact study done of the closing and the impact it would have upon the environs of Habit of Grace, as well as the housing market, housing values, and the businesses that surround the hospital proper, and kind of best practice for moving forward as far as development goals there. So we testified on behalf of support or a favorable report on House Bill 390, which was put forth by delegates Steve Johnson and Marianne Lasante. A number of us also had the privilege last week of going to Water Street Seafood, which opened up last week. They are doing pickup, carry out, and dine in at 654 Water Street. Doing very well. The first 7 days of operation, they are now at 1,500 followers. So they're doing well with their social media advertising as well as their word of mouth. There's a number of different meetings and sessions that are going on because we are active in the legislative session. I'm not going to bog you down with all of those acronyms and the different virtual meetings. Suffice it to say, I've got 27 on my calendar between now and the end of January. So everybody's getting together and doing their meetings to go over different things from grant programs to EIDL to COVID cares to what's next coming down the pike. And we're maintaining a presence within those. Battery Island Brewing Company is moving forward at 101 North Washington Street. The work that they've done inside is phenomenal. They are still planning on that St. Patrick's Day, March 17th opening, which is a great yay. It's in a very aggressive schedule, but the work they've done has been exemplary. Talking with Maryland Grape Growers Association as well as the Brewers Association, that is a feasible timeframe for them. That being said, they are one of seven different businesses in our downtown business district who have applied for grant funding, either facade improvement or tenant fit out, which is an application they write to Havre de Grace Economic Development. We review it, make sure it's within the district and within the scope, send it to the State Department of Housing and Community Development for review. They approve it or disapprove it, and then we can pass grant funds to the business and they can work on their property. It has to be reviewed by the state. We still have some grants that we submitted back in October that are still under review with the state. So it has gone very, very slowly to have things reviewed. We're in communication with the state every single day to try and push this forward. I never want to have 7 grants from businesses pending. It has lagged. We're still pushing and still moving forward on it. It's just become a little problematic. There's a lot of pushing for the COVID CARES grant and other monies to go out that are taking precedent over these smaller long-term grants that have gone on for a number of years. So hopefully they will loosen up fairly quickly and we can start seeing that money going forward and going out. I did want to very quickly touch base on a couple of things. One, I mentioned to Mr. Mike Allen earlier, the council agreed unanimously. We are now customers of Hartford Bank, the city of Havre de Grace. So that was a really excellent component of the meeting of the council last night. And we have a number of other things that are coming down the pike, one of whom is I have a party that is currently interested in the former Gatto Chevrolet or Wilhelm Automotive building on Juniata, large white building as soon as you come into town at the bottom of the hill. He's interested in it for a billiard with a connected possible beer hall, beer house, which is going to be problematic for parking that would go along with that with liquor board licensing. So it may be something that this board needs to look into and possibly talk to the interested party as well to find a solution. He's apparently, the person is a known business entity to us. He has expressed interest. He has also met with the Maryland Brewers Association regarding that. So it might be something that's coming in the pike sooner rather than later. And it may result in possibly giving a call to Paul and to Warren in the next couple of weeks to set up a meeting with this gentleman, if that would be okay, to try and find a solution to the situation. You may have seen, for those of you who are Facebook active, that Art Rooms Professional Art Supplies posted last night that they will be closing. That is downtown on Washington Street. They posted that about 7:30 last night. And I showed the building from the outside this morning and they're interested. We have a new business who's interested in leasing it. So I put them in contact with the property owner. The Teal Antler, which is across the street at 119, is moving into a space double the size. They just opened this July. So they are expanding. So we'll have 119 available. Wedding Professionals are moving into Distinctive Decor. That will be opening. And then.
Hey, Julie, what's up?
Oh.
Erica just sent it out again. Okay.
It came from Jeff Thompson yesterday, and I just sent it to Julie again as well as Terry.
I don't know. Jeff sent one day before yesterday. Resend the link to Julie, please.
Terry's
Somebody.
joining in now.
Yeah, I just sent it to both of them.
Oh, okay,
I believe.
just send it to both of them.
Yeah, I'm driving again. I did get it to Terry and Julie, I believe. But if Julie doesn't come in, someone needs to send it to her again.
Thank you. This is Terry. Thanks, David. I'm on now. Thank you.
Yeah, Julie says she's not getting it.
I'm trying to give my report and look for it on my email so I can send it again.
Okay. Working on it. Well, Julie, in the meantime, I guess I can forward as well to Mihan.
Hey, Warren, why don't you mute yourself while you're talking to Julie, and then Erica can go on with her report.
Okay, good idea. Excuse me.
All right, so really quickly, the Shaw Building, which is the former Sherwin-Williams property, out on Old Post Road or Revolution Street at the corner of Old Bay. We heard from Steve Shaw at a previous EDAB meeting. He currently has a party who is interested in the building, which is outstanding. They're interested in the entirety of it. It is currently at 77,000 square feet. As I'm sure you're all aware, that is after he demolished some of the building that was just kind of beyond salvageable. So the new prospect tenant wants to add on the footprint of the former building an additional 44,000 square feet. So that's something that'll have to come before planning and zoning and possibly Havre de Grace City Council. So this could be something that, again, I'll be coming back to EDAB as we move forward to be part of that testimony being presented so that we can expand a manufacturing business from 77,000 square feet to a total of about 140,000 square feet on Revolution. So after sitting vacant for almost 15 years, to see some of those changes result in a new interest and expanding the building has been pretty exceptional. I'm very excited to have seen that. And then lastly, without going into the weeds on too many of the other smaller retails that we have, we also had a meeting with an organization that is operating currently in National Harbor as well as in Baltimore City and Fells Point. And of course, with COVID, things have changed a lot with operations for different entertainment enterprises. So that particular entity has expressed interest in bringing their business here, which is it's a commercial boating operation. It's an entertainment operation. They have 2 vessels and they're interested in bringing the smaller of the 2 vessels to Havre de Grace. The city has met with them. We've talked to them about locating potentially at Hutchins Park, where you may be familiar. The Lantern Queen was located for a time down on that particular dock. They have expressed extreme interest in locating here and being here prior to the summer season. So that's still moving forward. Hopefully that'll be something where details can be brought in for the March meeting. Still working with, lastly, with our industrial park business owners. When things are cleared up, when we can actually get together, several of them are looking forward to having actual tours of their businesses, which I think would be exceptional to be able to go through Plastipack, maybe some of the others. A couple can't do them because they can't do them in groups at this point. But we are moving forward there to possibly have a virtual meeting, but try and have something that's actually on the ground. And we're moving forward with that. With the uptick in numbers from COVID, when I spoke to Mike and Mark from Acer, it's probably not a good idea to try it at this point. But as soon as we start getting some vaccines in arms, I'm hopeful that we will have that transpire. And that's what I have at the present time, Chairman.
Yeah, Erica, having been a Wilhelm customer for many years, that building at the corner of Juniata, there's extremely limited parking. It was always too deep. The access alley is so narrow that people kept hitting the wall and frustrating the neighbor, who I think is also the owner of the building, or maybe I'm not sure, but and then exiting is a problem because the people behind the building are, so at any rate, it would be great if we could find what are you holding up? It'd be
My
great.
coffee.
Be great to find an alternative. Any other questions for Erica? Great job, Erica. Thank you. So that takes us to Robert. I know he was here.
I am still here.
Oh,
Good afternoon, everyone. So happy to see all your smiling faces out there. I'll try to be brief and just run through some of the things that are going on in the county. We have a new grants program for our hotels. This will close on January the 29th. So if you, I have contacted several in the Havre de Grace area, and several have already applied. And we hope that program, we have about $1 million+ that will be distributed amongst the hotels that apply and are approved. So we hope to help them a little bit to limp through, as Erica said, more vaccinations are distributed. Our other grant programs closed on December 30th. We were able to distribute all $20 million that we had from the CARES Act. We were able to administer 5 programs for over 3,000 applications. In the first 27 working days that we opened the grants, we were able to process 1,800 grants and get the first $5 million out the door. So I'm real proud of our team that we are lucky to have been chosen as a poster child for many of the other counties to emulate. We are waiting for more federal money to arrive through the next CARES Act that was approved by Congress. And we're just waiting to see how much. Harford County this round will be a direct recipient because they changed the rules. It was populations over 500,000 that were direct recipients from the federal government, but this round it's populations over 200,000. So we are happy that we'll be getting it. We won't be going through the state, so it will give us a little more flexibility on how we craft our grant programs and really focus on the needs of the people in Harford County rather than using the blanket statewide process. Last week, the bond rating meetings were held virtually. The administration met with the 3 main bond rating companies and went very well. And we are fully expecting to hear that we have retained our AAA rating for another year. We're in very good shape physically in the county. Our rainy day funds and shrewd management practices really put us in a good position as compared to other counties in the state. Last week, the county executive gave his State of the County address. This year, it was a virtual address. It was only 12 minutes long, and you can access that on the county website if you'd like to see it. But in a nutshell, he essentially stated that the county is in good shape and as we move into 2021. The Grove, our agribusiness incubator, the first 3 months of the Grove was a great success. The 8 vendors that we have at that facility all re-upped for another 3 months. They all stated that it was the best year that they ever had in sales. While these are fledgling businesses that we're trying to grow so that they can move out to other locations. But it's something that we're very happy to hear. We will be planning events in the spring and in the summer as we move into the year for other great, hopefully, farmers markets or twilight markets or something else in adjunct to the current vendors at the Grove. The enterprise zone applications that were submitted have all been approved and submitted to the state by they were submitted by the January 30th, or excuse me, December 30th deadline. So letters will be going out from the state to those who applied, and we're happy to see that everyone that did apply was able to get that tax credit. There's been a lot of interest in Harford County. There's been a lot of prospecting going on. We continue to get calls from businesses, manufacturing, distribution, logistics companies, all looking at possible locations here in Harford County to locate. So we're very happy to hear that. We hopefully will have a couple of great announcements in the coming months for a couple of companies that are about ready to finalize their access to the county. Copper Mine, the sports field that was planned for the southern part of the county in Edgewood, is continuing on its course to open up sometime in 2022. It will open right now with 4 turf fields and 4 grass fields. This is just as a money-saving process. But after they open, they will do all of the lighting and everything else. And as they open within 18 months, those 4 grass fields will be transferred into turf fields. PPP loans. There've been over 2,955 companies under $10 million in sales that represented over 12,000 jobs, and they took over $96 million in PPP loans. So that was all re-injected back into the county, and we're happy about that. And since BRAC, when BRAC started in 2005, there were only 10 to 20 defense contractors in Harford County. In 2017, there were 137. In 2018, there were 152. And so far, we have 157. So we see continued growth at APG, and just adding the larger role that APG is playing in the larger Department of Defense plans. And since then, since 2005 and since BRAC, there's been over $655 million of investment at APG, with a lot more in the pipeline. So that is still being our largest employer in the county, still something that we are very proud of and happy to see that we are on the receiving end of DoD dollars. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Questions for Robert? Thank you, Robert. Jason, I saw you earlier. Are you still here?
I am. Hello.
Good.
Hey,
What's up?
I don't really have a whole lot. Most of our business this month has been by way of budget amendments. Nothing that's really earth-shattering. We just had one to help reimburse the fire department for their insurance costs. That's $30K, and that'll be taken from the general fund's tax revenues. We had another one of $700 to extend the contract for the green team's composting efforts another 6 months, and that's actually kind of interesting. It's a zero-sum transfer from our trash collections fees. So basically the food waste that they've been able to collect from the community and then compost has offset the costs of collecting that food waste and composting it. Because that tonnage is no longer in our trash receptacles. So interested to see how that program grows and develops as time goes on. And, that'll become more of a self-sustaining thing, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of keep our expenses down as a city. The biggest news, I guess, from yesterday is that Havre de Grace is switching banks. We did pass a calendar resolution to allow the procurement of purchase cards for our new provider. So as you know, PNC had moved out of the city, and in an effort to, number one, keep business local, and number two, find favorable terms, the city was able to go to Hartford Bank and get I guess similar terms to what the city of Aberdeen has. So from what I understand, it's a good deal. We're gonna have our cashback Visa options and all that stuff. Big shout out to Mike Allen for hooking the city up with that. I would encourage everybody to make Hartford Bank one of your first stops if you're looking for business banking. Other than that, that's really all I have to say. If anyone has any questions or comments of me, I'm sure that y'all know how to get a hold of me by now. Happy New Year and happy Inauguration Day.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. And happy Inauguration Day. Any questions for Jason?
I want to thank Jason for the kind words, and certainly thank the city of Havre de Grace for the opportunity. We've been talking for a long time, so we're really enthusiastic. So thank you, Jason, and thanks, Erica, for the kind words.
Way to go, Mike. Okay. Before we get into the committee reports, I distributed 3 things to you today. One was a letter that I had drafted on our behalf regarding the bill, the 390. Obviously, since testimony was being taken yesterday, we didn't have an opportunity to pass it by economic development, but I really did think long and hard about what we would say about it, and I hope the letter reflects the sentiment of the entire Economic Development Advisory Board. So that I did solo, but I hope it's there's no objection. You received a report of the Marina, the City Yacht Basin Committee for your review. Are there any questions about that report? I'd like to thank, I think Paul, Robert, Mal did a terrific job on this. It was not an easy task, and there's many. It just was not easy, but it's been very well received. I talked to Steve Gamaturi this afternoon, and they've begun to process it. So with City Yacht Basin personnel, and so it's and I guess Jason, you received a copy from me, but you have not received a copy yet from your colleagues. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Warren, I'm multitasking. A copy of what?
The City Yacht Basin report, the committee report I sent out earlier today, an amended one. Unfortunately, through the many edits, and there were probably 20, there were some legacy adverbs that hung on, and there was one incorrect statement. We corrected those, and so what you have now is as correct, I think, as we can make it. So please look over it. If you have questions, please feel free to go offline to Paul, Mal, or Robert. This involved a lot of, or me, it involved a lot of deliberation, and I think we're all of one mind on the outcome. I think it's a good outcome. I think we believe uniformly in the importance of the outcome. The second thing I sent out today, because I received it yesterday from Chris Stathis, thank you, Chris, job well done, is a list of 34 culturally significant places in Havre de Grace, along with a proposal that we find a method for surveying the dynamic population on what they think are, the most significant or significant places in Havre de Grace that may or may not be on our list. And I think that's an excellent suggestion. I guess the next step, Chris, must be to figure out how to operationalize that proposed survey.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Rich quite a bit. He helped me understand the little square box with the squiggles in it, the QR codes. Although I spent a career in IT, I'm becoming more and more computer illiterate, I find out, and certainly phone apps are not my strength. The 34, and actually I realized after I sent it out, I forgot First Fridays, and they deserve to be on the list. So it's actually 35. The initiative from the mayor was to help define what it is in people's mind, as I'm phrasing it, that makes Havre de Grace unique and special. And so working with Terry and Lisa, Maria Terry, sorry, and Lisa, and towards the end with Rich, we came up with this list. And as we did it, I realized that it's a limitation. You've got 4 people's inputs, but is that sufficient? I don't think it is. So my thought was, if we could engage citizens and visitors or prospective visitors to get their thoughts about, if you live in Havre de Grace, what do you think makes it special? If you come to Havre de Grace to visit, why do you come? What do you think of that makes you want to come here or come back again? Which is why I thought the notion of a survey implemented through a QR code type of thing, which could be activated at any of these places or at the visitor center, City Hall, a number of places around, and we could have a version of it on the city website just to get input, because I think what the mayor intended was he wants to know what makes us us, what makes us unique, and what we should be touting to the world at large about what makes us special and why you want to come here to visit or to live. So that was what got us to the 2-pager that I sent out yesterday. So as far as implementation, I guess I would defer to Erica and see if she could give me an intro either through to Jeff, or whether we need to go through Steve Gamatoria, but to do something to see if there's an interest from the city in pushing forward the idea of doing a survey to get more information and refine this list, add to it, detract from it, just to make it as best a list as we can, and then present that to the mayor. So that's what I was trying to do.
Chris, and Rich, the QR code's an excellent idea. One way it could be distributed, for example, you think of Bully Rock, the golfers come largely from out, or many come from out of town. But a QR code is printed on a piece of paper, so it would be easy enough to use the restaurants as a distribution point, almost any commercial entity.
Yeah, Rich talked to me about those sorts of ideas. I didn't want to get too far down into the weeds with this initial report. I just wanted to sort of give everybody an update on where we'd gotten to in our thinking.
Good idea.
At this point, I really do need, our committee, well, it's not just me, needs to engage with the city, because, for instance, if it's printing cards or implementing the QR codes, that will involve a small but real expenditure. We don't have a budget. So I've got to turn to the city to say, do you agree with this idea? if you want to implement, how would you like to move forward? And I'm happy for our committee to help with that, but I don't think we can take it any further on our own.
Very good. Questions for Chris?
I would
Yes,
be,
Eric.
I would be happy to go to Adam Rosbinski, Steve Gamatori, and Jeff Thompson and talk to them further about doing the QR code, setting up a survey, how we would create the capture for the data, and whether or not we can utilize some of the budget within Economic Development Advisory Board, or within the Economic Development Office, rather, to try and support the initiative and get back to you as soon as I have some info.
Yeah, quite honestly, Erica, if money's an issue, I might also suggest this would, I think, be of interest to tourism as well. So that might be a cost sharing opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to go there too, Chris, because I know that tourism should have some dollars lying around from this past year's activities kind of being mooted. I also think maybe approaching some of the businesses and getting like almost like a coupon or something out, or a circular, would be kind of cool, because we could have the QR code for the survey on that, and it kind of incentivizes people to take, that piece of paper that we're trying to hand them and keep it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason, and anybody else, that's a good idea. Certainly something I had not thought of. If you would do me the favor of forwarding that to me in an email or a text, I can assemble some of the ideas. And when Erica's had the chance to do the groundwork with the city, maybe we can get together with them and lay those on the table as suggestions for implementation. And then we can work as a group to go forward using those ideas as input.
Roger that. I'll do that. And I think
rather than taking a lot of time in this meeting, I don't want to dominate the conversation.
Roger.
Hey, Chris, this is Jeff. I happen to be on the call because I'm running the meeting as a host, but Erica will get with me. We're actually looking at QR codes for another project right now. So we might actually be able to tie all of that QR stuff into one platform. So Erica, offline, if you can get with me, I'd certainly be willing to help in whatever capacity I can.
Oh, great, Jeff. Thank you. That's tremendous.
Yeah. Certainly a facilitating solution. Good one. Thank you.
No problem.
The other committees, I'm just going to run down them. If there's no developments, I would encourage you to keep working hard. But Julie, I guess the first one that comes up is the auditorium.
I have nothing to say today. Sorry.
Okay. I know there were some limitations on public comment. The Upper Chesapeake Health repurposing, Mike, of course, some of that has been addressed in this, assuming this, HB 390 passes. It's going to be a big help in terms of augmenting whatever the Cushman-Wakefield study says, given that it's already aging. But anything else?
Hey, Warren, on that subject, on the 390, and I'll ask generally, you may not know, but somebody else on the call might. Do we have any sense whether the rest of the county delegation is going to support that? Or is it just going to be Steve and Mary Ann?
So far, we know Steve and Mary Ann are, the co-sponsors, but we don't have any inclination of the rest of the county delegation. We're hoping that they support it. The city just voted last night to submit, a letter of support to the House committee chair, but I haven't heard anything from any of the delegation.
Jason, do we have any buy-in from the county council? Or
not that I'm aware of.
Or County Executive Glassman. I just worry, as always, that the non-Havre de Grace 80% of the county will stonewall us on this.
Last year, if you recall last year, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but someone from the counties, I believe it was economic development, went down to speak against the the bond for the economic impact study. for the hospital.
That's sad, but once again, I see Lyle Sheldon's malign hand in this, but that's just me. That's just me.
If we can think of positive ways, just before this meeting, I received a call from Pat Vincenti, who I've never talked to before that I know, and this will be a subject I'll bring up with him. But certainly I understand Steve Johnson's on the health, on the committee dealing with this bill. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir, he is. And I think that would be a great approach if members of the board would reach out to the county delegation and to the county council, and solicit support that way, because I mean, God knows that we all have, as the electeds here in Havre de Grace, but sometimes it means a lot coming from the citizens as well.
Well, is Curtis involved at all, Jason?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. Well, the challenge is to us as individuals. I think it's easy enough to email folks, and it's hard to deny the cratering that could result in a vacant HMH. So, okay. Thank you. The industrial park, I know, well, I think you've addressed that, Erica, earlier in your comments by kind of collaterally. So right now, any meeting is not really viable unless it's a Zoom meeting, et cetera.
Correct. That's where we're at right now. And as soon as things stabilize, there's a lot of people who are very eager to welcome us.
Okay, thank you. New businesses and commercial vacancies. I guess we, in your report again, if there's movement on the Asher property, and it's not. What do we need to do there to help you, Erica?
This is going to sound extremely rude and probably evasive, and I apologize in advance. But on the Asher property, I'm going to ask you all to light a candle and pray. We had the listing agent for the property is Matt Garono, who is absolutely exceptional. And 3 weeks ago, he asked me to meet him at the property to show it. We showed the property. The prospect came back and looked at the property, stayed for the weekend, kicked the tires, and has subsequently returned to the property and has brought an architect to the property. This is a business owner out of Baltimore City who has a very creative concept. It would be a beautiful and perfect fit with downtown Havre de Grace. It's beyond, I'm not smart enough to come up with what this guy came up with that works for downtown, and I think would work brilliantly here. I truly can't wait for the day where I can tell you what this guy's business model is if he signs the paperwork and moves forward. But he has, very rarely do you have someone come back 5 times now to look at a property and bring in architects to look at it and not have some business plan going forward. So we have the most viable, at least on paper, prospect that we've had in quite some time. And I feel very confident having Matt Garono as the lead, being a local boy through and through, that he cares passionately about this coming to fruition. So basically, I'm feeding him every bit of information I can, every piece of data, any census tract information, whatever he and his client needs, we're on speed dial. So, God, I hope this is the end because I am so sick of dealing with that building. But it's in a good place right now. If we can tackle this, then I'm calling up Beetle about the building up on Superior Street. That'll be the next one.
Well, I'm touching wood now.
Please.
Sounds good. Yeah, I like candles. Thanks. It would be, but what can we do to, I mean, obviously the mayor is saying that he's looking for us to do something to assist you in identifying new businesses and commercial vacancies. And I know that's what you do all day, and that's what I guess we all do as a board in terms of working with you. I guess it's kind of keep thinking about it and,
I mean, when I've worked in other offices of economic development in other communities, a lot of times economic development advisory boards will have persons who have, for example, a greater knowledge in the arts that I may have, or in restaurants, or, pubs, et cetera, and have their ear to the ground and say, I heard this guy is interested in something. Do you know of anything coming available? There's, I think Beetle and David could attest to this quite well, that you'd be shocked how much is word on the street and word of mouth. And suddenly you've got a business that's locating somewhere. Some of the businesses that we currently have that are expanding, I heard about them because they posted on Facebook they liked Have a Grace, and they signed a lease within 48 hours. Right now, with a lot of the business spaces that are downtown, we do have EDAB and in the form of the Have a Grace Alliance and Julie. We're kind of like this team working together for a lot of the downtown spaces. So if I'm working with someone else or not available, she's got them, she carries them through. So we've been doing a lot of that. As far as the industrial properties, those are larger meetings. That's larger scale. That's bringing in multiple people. That's coming up with a team. For example, if the prospect who's looking at the 77,000 square feet does come in, he's going to want me to put together a package deal. Can I introduce him to, Robert from the county and to our local banker, Mike? And can I introduce these people and put those groups together? And that's where that help comes in. Usually I don't have that kind of aspect for a mom and pop shop. This is for the people that are starting to look for 10, 15, 20, even, 100 employees. I mean, Terry Kearney's my speed dial for when somebody says they need to find and hire, or when they're saying I got to find a place to take employees who are being laid off. I hate it when those are the phone calls, but Terry handles it and pumps it out there. So a lot of that's going on. It's not necessarily a ledger report of who we're assisting, because this meeting would probably go on forever were that the case, but we are seeing some of it. I think as things normalize and we're not doing Zoom meetings where we are in a group setting and we can freely talk about which business is doing a layoff and which business is tooling up to hire, then you're able as people with expertise in various fields to offer your resources. Right now, I can only tell you it's a business interested in 77,000 square feet and expanding, and they do manufacturing. So, if I find out that they're in textiles, it might be something that's right up your alley, and I can beg you in, Warren. But a lot of it just.
My sense of it, at some point we talked about augmenting the website with the properties like DART, EFC, Steve Shaw property, and I think that's where it was going, rather than, certainly Washington or, the downtown business district, was what should the city be doing to provide some mechanism for passive shopping.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense. So it may be just dividing up what properties are available and getting up-to-date spec sheets on them so we can update.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that. I mean, it sounds mundane and silly, but it's time consuming when you've got a lot of other things going on with running grants and showing properties, et cetera. Just update fields in a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I would hope that, I think you're right. I mean, if we could get listing sheets on these things, and then I think, talk to, I think we have the ability to go back to city administration and say, we need your help in getting this out on the website for the passive shopper, as I was when I brought the company from Stamford, Connecticut. You find it by, you're not, in fact, I deliberately stayed away from Pennsylvania because you had to go to the Chamber of Commerce, through the Ben Franklin partnership, so it was a pain in the butt. So I wanted to shop, see, and
what I'll do is I'll ask Adam Rosbinski, who handles the website, how we can best access it to be able to have maybe a little assistance and input, so it's not just me trying to fit it in between this meeting and that meeting, and it's actually something that we can do an update with. I know with Harford County Office of Economic Development, they've helped me in the past with being able to pull information from LoopNet, and Beetle has always been very generous with giving me up-to-date information on listings that I can't access. I don't have the platforms to be able to do so.
Well, I do think this isn't a task that's Erica intensive. It's a task that maybe there's a bypass where, this is a property, you identify the property and the listing agent, and then it can be uploaded. But at any rate, that's, I think, the direction that was being considered. Okay. Moving on. Chris touched on this, legislative impact liaison. This is a difficult area. Chris?
Well, actually, at the last meeting, Warren, I thought we left it. You were going to get in touch with Steve Gamatoria and get us a meeting so we could discuss an agenda, and that hasn't happened to my knowledge.
Right. Yeah, getting the meetings, getting a meeting right now is very, very difficult. Certainly the need is there. We need to be not this subset that is isolated from Harford County, but we need to be more important in the eyes of Harford County. And I think that's that could be a very, very important accomplishment. So, okay. I will discuss it with Steve again and come back to you, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
And then there was finally measuring how to measure success. And, of course, how to measure success. So that's door knocks, calls, visits, but and I guess that's something that Mike, David, and I were going to work with Erica. Erica's working on Salesforce and a contact management database now. And I think that the idea was to let her get up and comfortable with that, and then sit down and say, what are the outputs of that? I think I understand contact management software pretty well, but there are other inputs or outputs that are, I think, desirable. So at any rate, that I think we're in a holding pattern on that. I think kind of, Erica, how are you doing with Salesforce?
Well, I'm putting in all of the new contact businesses, obviously, as we go with them, whether they're a business who's kicking tires or it's a business for expansion. So any contact or connect that we have with a business owner, even if it's a business such as Pollitt Signs that's been here forever, but they've reached out because they want to do something new with their business, then that goes into the system so that we can track, all of those elements. In that we're in the midst of a situation with a lot of businesses are requesting either my help or Julie's help with grants, EIDL, PPP, various loans and grant programs. There's a lot of contacts, a lot. So we're putting them in as they come in. And I'm trying to also do those updates that aren't intuitive in a system. For example, you have a lot of businesses that have been in 8 different addresses within 4 years, and that's not always tracked and monitored. So trying to make sure that we have that detail, and then going into things like our larger corporate entities. For example, with Pepsi. Pepsi has more than one business under one umbrella at their location, and making sure that that's driven and taken care of. So it's the adding in the new and making sure the information that is there is correct. Quite honestly, if one were to have a robust system in any contact management software, you would really need to have an individual whose life is dedicated to just that task alone. So I try and devote at least 2 hours every night between 9 and 11 to getting it done, working on it. But that's the time frame that I've been able to find I can work on it in peace.
I have an offer for you.
Okay.
I have a card scan. We used it at shows, so you just put a business card through it, and it sorts. Of course, you bring the business cards up later. For the most part, it recognizes phone, street, by number, name, and title. So it will place those things and fit them right into your database. I have that thing. And I obviously, I'm a long way, I haven't used it in years, but it's a very effective little tool in getting information into the database very quickly. When you're, put the business card in, comes out the back. It's like people scan medical cards at the doctor's office. It's that quick, and it's that big. So,
Hey, Warren.
Yeah.
Hey, Warren, this is Dave. Hey, I think nowadays there's like apps you can get on your phone. Like I have an app on my phone. I can take a picture of a business card and it scrapes into my contacts on my iPhone. So I think nowadays with this like Salesforce and stuff, you probably just get an app on your iPhone. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just might be simpler than just put a scanner and do it through your phone.
Be far simpler actually, and yeah, you're in a traffic business. Yeah, why don't can you get with Erica on that, Clark?
Yeah. I'll do some digging. I'll do some digging tomorrow if I can find an app or send us some stuff over.
I actually use an app and I take a picture of the card and it automatically goes into the database. So
okay.
It's the other information that's required. When did you have the contact with the person? How much are they looking to spend? What type of electric do they need to do their manufacturing? How many units did they put out? What's their expansion? How many employees? How many grants have they received? It's more weeds data that is useful within the system. That what other buildings were they looking at? That sort of thing. So I'm trying to make sure that the information that's in is robust to say, okay, this is how you can call them or email them, but it also has the data in there of, how much have they expanded within year one of their startup, within year three when they're looking to expand, and those sort of things. That's something a bit more useful with understanding the growth of the company. So
So
it's,
Mike, I don't think David's online with us today, is he? I haven't seen.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just on the phone. I'm not zooming.
You're being unusually quiet. So I think what we need to do then, I'm sorry, what we need to do is put our heads together and figure out how we can help capture the data without maybe we need to revisit that whole thing. All right. That should, I think, be something that it shouldn't be 9 to 11 at night. So maybe there's a way we can find a way to help. So, okay. So that's it for our committee meetings, our committees. Thank you all. We don't, David omitted old business and new business, but for old business, new business, anything, Julie, Terry, you guys always have something to say.
This is Terry.
Yes.
And this is nothing new, but with the businesses that are still out there and trying to survive, their biggest challenge continues to be hiring qualified people. And now that we have the new round of the stimulus checks that have gone out and the extension of unemployment for people who are currently obtaining unemployment, it's getting worse as far as employers will go ahead and interview people and they'll set positions and they won't even show up for the first day of work. So that's one of our biggest challenges, is to help the employers find qualified people, not just anyone, but qualified people for the work that they have to have done. Some of them have even gone ahead and rewritten their job descriptions, requiring less for the individuals to do, just so that they can find people that can do the work. So as I mentioned last month, we did have a job fair in December. It was a virtual hiring event, and we're going to have another one February the 25th. So I'll send out the flyer for that. Of course, it wasn't hard to get 10 employers who are going to participate. And now our goal is to find the job seekers to actually attend. But all throughout, people that, in fairness, people that want to go back to work, some of them are afraid because they're afraid if they go back to work, they'll catch the COVID. And some of them had daycare issues as far as little ones. Some of them have to have somebody to be there with their school-age children because they're still sitting there at home or wherever, on a laptop doing their schoolwork. And then there's still the transportation issues. So there's just a whole lot in the mix, both for the employers and also for the job seekers. It seems like the one saving grace is going to be the vaccines, as far as, but then, it's how quickly are we all going to receive them and how quickly can we go back to work and be face to face with one another. But I'll send the information about the job fair.
Good.
Okay.
When you reach out, Terry, I'll be right with you, Jude. When you reach out, Terry, do you deliberately reach out? For example, there's an organization in Aberdeen called Intercounty Outreach that runs two youth homes for males who are too old to be in foster care, but also does a lot of intercept with at-risk youth and families, women who need jobs, who are single women who need jobs, do a lot of that. There's a similar organization, I think, in Habitat Grace that operates out of another, Black church. I've heard from my days on Intercounty Outreach's board. But do do you deliberately reach to people like that? Are you able to?
Well, sure. Once we uncover, the fact that they're there, we certainly do. And once I receive a contact, whenever, if you all have anybody who wants me to reach out to, just give me their name and contact information. And an organization like that, oftentimes they would utilize the services that we offer at our workforce centers. Our workforce centers are closed right now, but staff is still working remotely. And that's to help, some of the people that work through that agency and they're utilizing their services. We also offer our job seeker services, things like that, to individuals like that, or training. So sure, if you ever have any contacts, you can just send them my way. Because that's another way that we do the networking to get the job seekers that we can help.
Pastor Nate Johnson, remind me and I'll send you some.
Just email it to me. That'll be good. Okay.
Okay. 40-year-old organization. So, Julie.
So remember the trees that we were going to
Yeah.
plant along Revolution Street? Well, they're planted. It's done. So as you drive down, there are little tiny trees and they don't have any leaves yet right now because it's winter time, but come spring when they bloom, it'll be a whole new experience and it'll be beautiful. So the trees are in, the report is written, and that is a closed effort.
Right.
Thank you, Julie.
And what else is going on with Main Street?
Well, working with Erica on writing a lot of grants, bringing a lot of money in. The county, thank you, had another round of Hartford County grants that everybody got. Everybody's putting in for the second round of PPP. So that is what we are focusing right now, is making sure everybody's getting everything they can get.
Good. Okay, anything else? These meetings used to go an hour and a half at least. We're pretty good, a little over an hour. Is there anything else to come before Economic Development Advisory Board? Okay, so some of the takeaways are Mike, David, and I have to get together on data input or backloading. I have to talk to Gamatoria about some strategy to strengthen the relationship with the delegation and get that back to Chris. Anything, the rest of the committees just keep, now we want, if there's anything, everybody should be supporting and getting out there on this SB 390. And I hope that Lyle Shelton or Upper Chesapeake realizes that this bill is as beneficial to them as it is to the city, even more so, because they've got an asset here that they're going to need to move from a cost center to, move it over off their capital, their ownership, and get their cash out of it. So at any rate, all of us should be touching base on helping to build that network for the city. Anything else? I hear a motion to adjourn.
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, Chris, I'll just say, anybody opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone. Happy Inauguration Day.
Thanks all. Have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
You too.